like to call to order the March 7th meeting of the Conservation Commission. Before we get started, let's introduce everyone in the meeting. I'm Jonathan Nickerson. When I call your name, please confirm you can hear me by verifying that you are present. Starting with the commissioners, Travis.
Present.
Patrick.
Present.
Staff, Leah
Present.
and Jan.
Present.
Speakers for 61 Leland Street, Tim and Lee. So Tim Walsh and Lee Cassicelli. I don't know if they're on or.
It looks like we might have their representative instead.
I
Okay.
just promoted him to panelist.
And then also for 61 Leland, Vito Colonna.
Yep, Vito Colonna.
Kelowna. For 58 Follette Street, Jess Barty.
Present. Thank you.
Jesse Moreno
Yes, present.
and Chris Lucas. Chris will be joining us as well. Doesn't look like they're on. So we've got representatives from each of the speakers. This open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely via Zoom pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order as extended on June 15th, 2021, February 12th, 2022, and July 16th, 2022. Access information for the public has been provided on the town website. This meeting is being recorded. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. If you're using the dial by telephone feature, you can mute yourself by pressing *6. As chair, I'll introduce each speaker on the agenda. Please note that you will not have screen sharing privileges, but staff can display any visuals per your cue. After speakers conclude their remarks, I will invite each commissioner to provide any comments, questions, or motions. After the commissioners have spoken, I will allow public comments to be spoken by the participants. Participants must use the raise hand feature by clicking the hand icon at the bottom right of the Zoom menu bar to indicate they would like to speak. If you are using the dial by telephone feature, please press *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute yourself when you are called on. Participants who raise their hand will be recognized one at a time and promoted to speak. Public comments will be followed by the commission and applicant responses. Finally, each vote taken will be conducted by a roll call vote. As a reminder, the commission is concerned with state and town wetlands and stormwater regulations. Concerns outside this purview need to be addressed with the appropriate boards. For example, road conditions must be addressed with the select board and traffic concerns must be addressed with the planning board. All right. Where do we want to start? I didn't look through the report.
So do you want me to take over a bit for a second?
Sure, that was a lot of talking.
Okay, so the first thing I had on the agenda for tonight was just to have an open period for public comment for any of the items that we heard at our February 21st meeting. If you guys recall, we had an attendee let us know that the link to the meeting was incorrect. When I dug into it a little bit further, it wasn't just the link, it was that the original agenda was misposted. So the link had said February 21, but the PDF that opened was from February 7. So I did file an open meeting law form, a self-report with the state. They got back to us and said, thank you for sending that in. I just wanted to have one more chance for, if anyone had intended to attend that meeting and couldn't because of that error, we should give them a chance to give any comments. And I'll just list out the items that we covered. So we did an RDA for 145 Millbury Street, an NOI for 37 Magnolia Lane, the February 7th meeting minutes, extension requests for the Stowe Road Culvert Project, as well as the Route 122A reconstruction. And then we had certificate of compliance requests for 179 and 183 Upton Street, as well as a partial request for phase 1 of Highfields. and we talked a little bit about the Highfields conservation restriction. A couple of those items will be on tonight's agenda as well, but like I said, we should just give one more chance. If anybody had anything they wanted, just say, just use that raise your hand feature, and we'll take any comments on any of that.
So do I need to do anything, or was that sufficient to throw that out there for the public then, and we give a few minutes here?
Yeah, if you wanted to kill some time, while we see if anyone wants to
Sure.
raise their hand. Trying to think if there's anything really quick.
Do we have to read in, so the public hearings looks like they both were requested to continue,
Tonight's public hearings,
correct? Or
Yeah,
was
but-
that,
we can't do that yet, because they're a time certain,
okay,
those new ones. I guess the one thing I have real quick, if you want to just fill some time and give people a chance to raise their hand, at the very bottom, I had an action item to have you guys vote to give me signatory authority on receiving bonds. So basically, on large projects, when we require a bond, they bring it into us. There's a sheet in there that we sign saying we received it, and it gets notarized, and it would just be really way easier for procedure wise if I had the ability to sign instead of waiting for the chair. So if you guys are okay with that and would like to vote to designate me that authority, I can let them know with the accounting and treasurer collector's office.
okay. So Travis, any thoughts, any concerns with that item that Leah just proposed?
Nope.
Okay. Patrick?
I don't have any concerns. Since it's taking it away from the chair, is Sandy aware of that already, or does she need to be in that discussion at all?
She's not aware of it. I can send her an email off to the side just to make sure she doesn't have any issues, but I think as the commission, you can take the vote if you'd like tonight.
I'm not opposed to taking the vote. I mean,
I think it's reasonable to do that. Does that give Sandy the option to do it as well, or does that completely shift the onus
Yeah.
to you?
She could still sign. It's just, there's a sheet in the bond packet that's just, there's signature pages for the insurance company and the applicant, and then there's a page for us having received it. And so someone from the commission, right now, the chair signs to say, confirming receipt, and it gets notarized, and then the whole bond itself goes in the vault with the treasurer collector. So just for ease of procedure, if I could just sign it and get them down the hall, it's a lot better than waiting for Sandy to come in or trying to get it through DocuSign.
Okay.
I
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
I was just gonna say, I assume if for some unknown reason that Sandy saw some issue with it, I assume we could undo it as
Yeah.
well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't see any issue.
I agree, keeping her in the loop would be good, but having heard that and knowing that we could revert if we needed to, do I have a vote? Would I do it like a typical vote then, Leah? A
Yes,
motion, I
please.
should say?
Yep.
Okay. So do I hear a motion to vote to give agent signatory authority to receive bonds?
Sure, I'll make a motion to give the agent signatory authority to receive bonds.
Second.
Second. All right, I've got a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Travis,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. The motion passes.
Okay, we do not have any hands raised for that public comment on the February 21st meeting materials. I don't know if you want to consider that taken care of, or you want to give one more chance later on when we're done with other things. That's up to you. I'll let you make that call.
I mean, we've given them 5 minutes. The people that are on the meeting have been on the whole time. I checked at the beginning. It looks like there's 5 different attendees.
Yep,
So no one of those 5 attendees raised their hands. And Jan, you haven't seen anything on your side? I don't think there's. Yeah, so I would consider the matter closed if they've had their opportunity to voice their concerns, and I'm still rambling on now, and it's been 6+ minutes here, so.
okay,
So it's still 7:13, so we get 2 minutes. We could wait those 2 minutes and let that continue to. Do we have to make a motion to finalize anything from?
no,
It's
Nope.
just giving folks an opportunity if they'd like one.
correct.
Okay. Anything, do we want, could we do the February 21st meeting minutes?
We actually need to pass over that. Jan's been super busy with the MACC conference, so we're gonna delay those.
Okay, that's fine. Do we have enough time? Actually, we have a minute, so I don't know if we just want to,
Probably just wait.
we can wait. Give another said minute to the top item. Allows people to raise their hand if they need. And then Leah, as a matter of, I've only done this a handful of times. Do I have to, how do I have to read in the 7:15? Where is that sheet? Is it on the lead sheet?
Yep, it's on the lead sheet. So it's gonna be the language that makes up the legal ad that goes in the newspaper. Jan copies and pastes them right onto that sheet, so you can read right from that. I think Sandy probably skips a little bit of the end where it's like a, a written out URL about where they can get the project materials, but the rest of it's
So-
there for you.
Let me find it. Got it. All right, I'm on the right page now.
Cool.
All right, it's 7:15, so as long as Patrick's still here, we'll get rolling on 157 Pleasant Street. It looks like he's sprinting around the house. He's here. So pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, MGL C-131 S40, and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 7th, 2023 at 7:15 PM via Zoom. Wow. To act upon a notice of intent and an application for Grafton Wetlands bylaw permit for the construction of a house addition and garage at 157 Pleasant Street, Grafton, Mass. The application meeting link and access information will be posted on the town website. It looks like they've requested a continuance,
Correct.
so we can move. Do we move directly to a motion, or do we need to hear from anything there? Is it directly to a motion?
Right to a motion.
Okay, so the applicant has requested a continuance to 3/21. Do I hear a motion on the continuance?
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing to 3/21 for 157 Pleasant Street.
Second,
All right. Got a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Patrick,
yes.
Travis,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. The motion passes. All right. Shuffle stuff around here. So we can't jump to 7:30.
Right. We could probably do 61 Leland Street, which is the first under the list of continuations.
So. So we'll open up 61 Leland Street pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetland. Gonna have to bear with me, folks, because I've just been talking all day. Wetlands Protection Act, MGL C-131 S40, Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw. The Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting a public hearing via Zoom to act upon notice of intent application for Grafton Stormwater Bylaw Permit and application for Grafton Wetlands Bylaw Permit for the construction of a driveway, I apologize, driveway, garage, and paddock at 61 Leland Street, Grafton, Mass. The application materials, meeting link, and access information will be posted on the Grafton Town website. And I believe Jess Barty is here, or sorry, is this Vito is
Yep.
the speaker?
Yep, so
So-
Vito Colonna with Cornerstone Engineering. The applicants are also, Tim Walsh is also on the call, in case there's any questions for him. So I guess I can just start in, if everyone's ready. Yeah,
Yes, and if you do need something shown on the screen that has been submitted, Jan can share that on the screen if there's something to help.
sure. Yeah, if she wants to bring up the site plans, that'd be great. So while she's getting that up, I can just start in. So we're at 61 Leland Street. So if you want to, actually, you can probably just go right to the second sheet. So it's a larger parcel of land. It's 15 acres. And right now the site is serviced off a common driveway to get down to Leland Street. And that common driveway services 41, 43, 47, 55, and 61. There are wetland resources over to the left-hand side of the page. I don't know if there's any way to, actually, this is the right sheet. Yep. So on the left-hand side of the page, there are wetland resources that were delineated by Ecotech. And they run from north to south. And they run through two culverts underneath the driveway right there. There's a 12-inch and an 18-inch that run underneath the driveway. And there's a crossing right there. The site itself, if you're familiar with the area, as you know, it's fairly steep topography over there. From the top of the site down to the road, it's 170 feet of elevation change. So we're dealing with some challenging topography out on the site. So right now they have an existing house out there, gravel driveway, and a septic system that's kind of far up on the hill where the suitable soils were. So, and if we go to what we're proposing, it would be mostly focused around a fairly good size horse paddock up on the top portion of the lot. It's a 500-foot long by 100-foot wide paddock area, and it's we located it basically on the flattest portion of the site. And being such a steep site, we were able to find this one location where the maximum cuts and fills would only be 4 feet. So we've aligned that parallel with the contours and in the most agreeable spot we could find. To access that paddock area, we did have to install a gravel driveway that leads up from the existing driveway. So that's that kind of curved access. I think if you scroll down, oh, maybe up one sheet, maybe that would be a better one that has all the contours on it. There we go. Yep, this one looks better. So as you can see, that curved driveway leading up to the paddock area, that just gets us access up there, and that would be access for just to maintain the paddock, also for horse trailers to access up there. So we did have to do that at a reasonable grade. We couldn't go too steep because you want to get the trailers up there. So we had to find a route that kind of wound up the hill to get up there. And then down at the base of the hill, we're going to repave the driveway. Right now it's gravel, so they'd like to have a paved surface. And they also were proposing a garage area. And so right now the only work actually in the buffer zone is just to repave or pave the gravel surface of the driveway. We didn't propose any expansion of the driveway within the buffer zone. We just showed paving that existing gravel surface. And in the long run, I usually feel that it's a benefit because the gravel driveway is constantly being eroded, and the pavement would stabilize that surface. And pavement versus gravel is essentially the same as far as runoff conditions go. So then the other part of the project for the stormwater permit, how we manage the stormwater, because this is a relatively steep area with runoff concerns. That gravel driveway we collected with a swale along the edge with check dams along the way to reduce the velocity and brought that down into a rain garden. And it was sized for infiltration, for groundwater recharge, 1 inch of treatment, and also detention to control the peak rate and volume of runoff. The overflow from that does get piped around. So there is an overflow point, and it gets piped to a stabilized outlet. And then the paved driveway down there also gets a rain garden, where we get sheet flow off the driveway into the rain garden for the same attributes: recharge, treatment, peak rate control. And that also has a stabilized outlet to minimize erosion. Both those discharges were kept outside the buffer zones. We kept it as far away as possible. We moved that down by the south of the existing house to keep it as far as we could away from the wetland areas. The only other aspect for drainage, we did propose a swale along the paddock area. And that's just to divert some runoff. Right now, runoff is coming down right against the backside of the house. So we're trying to route that basically around the house area. Just kind of routes in a different direction, that's all. But in the end, it still goes to the same place. I think that's all we had, in the review for drainage and for the wetland areas. We did get the comments back from Graves Engineering, and there were a couple revisions that we did have to make. They weren't too major. We just had to show the existing well to ensure we had proper setbacks. And then we had to, let's see, the other one was just showing the abutters on the plan. We didn't have all the abutters listed on the plans. And then we had comments from Board of Health, and they just want to ensure that the paddock was 10 feet from the existing septic system. So we adjusted that just slightly to make sure we had that separation. I think that's all I have. If I can hand it back and take some questions.
All right. Thank you, Vito. So Leah, just to remember the cadence, is it going around our group, and then do we want to get into any specific conditions from you, or do you want to go into conditions first and then maybe go around our group for comments?
Either way, I don't have too much on this one aside from conditions, so I can give you those now, or you can go around the
Please.
group. Okay. So they are requesting a waiver for work within the no disturb, so we will need to take a separate vote on the waiver. And then I just had 2 special conditions. Snow shall not be pushed into or stored within any of the stormwater infrastructure, and the O&M plan for the stormwater infrastructure attached to the NOI and referenced on the plan set shall be implemented. So those would be the 2 on top of our boilerplate standard conditions.
So having heard the presentation and the recommendations for the special conditions, Patrick, do you have any questions or comments?
No, no questions.
All right, Travis?
Nope, no questions.
All right. I don't have any specific questions. It looks pretty straightforward. And again, they seem to have adhered to the Graves review, as well as do I need to go to the public for this one, Leah, or is it just
Yes.
because it's not a heat? Okay, so then we'll open it up to the public to see if there's any folks that have questions or comments on the work proposed and the plan that was just discussed at 61 Leland Street. So we'll give folks a couple minutes or a minute here just to, if you'd like to speak, please, click the raise hand feature. So, and then Leah could promote you to panelists or to be able to talk, I guess. I'm not seeing any hands raised from the 5 attendees right now.
Do you want to do the vote on the waiver while you wait?
Sure. Is there specific language for that?
I didn't type it into my report, but you would be granting a waiver to allow work within the no disturb zone. And you can say so moved if you wish.
And that's within the current footprint of the existing driveway, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no
Okay.
expansion or anything.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Travis,
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. The waiver sought is granted. Again, not seeing any commentary, or any, I should say commentary, any raised hands from the attendees. Do I hear a motion to close the hearing and issue the order of conditions as Leah's mentioned?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing for 61 Leland Street and issue order of conditions with the special conditions as described.
All right, motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Roll call vote. Travis,
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. The motion passes.
Okay.
Thank you
All
very
right, well,
much.
thank you very much.
Have a nice evening. Thank you.
All right, you too.
All right. Now, Leah, I don't know if we have enough time well, now it's 1 minute. So we'll probably have to wait. We can read the continuance in that's been requested for 118 and a half, and then we can move on.
Right.
Unless you have something that will fit in this minute.
Nope.
Okay. So I'm just waiting until 7:30 and then I'll start my read in of 118 and a half. In Westboro Road. With how many of these that Sandy does, I'm happy that she gets a night off occasionally. It's a lot of
That's
reading.
true.
All right, seeing that it's 7:30, I'll start in pursuant, and I'll try not to butcher it every time I read it. Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 7th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. via Zoom to act upon a notices of intent, applications for Grafton Stormwater Bylaw Permit, and applications for Grafton Wetlands Bylaw Permit for the construction of a single-family house at 115.5 Old Westboro Road, lots A and B, Grafton, Mass. The application materials, meeting link, and access information will be posted to the Grafton website. It looks like these folks have requested a continuance to 3/21. So do I have a motion to continue?
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing to 3/21 for 118 and a half Old Westboro Road.
All right, I've got a
Second.
motion. Got a second. Motion and a second. A roll call vote. Travis,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
I'm also a yes. The motion carries. All right. Jumping back down to 58 Follette Street.
Sure.
Pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, and Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing via Zoom to act upon a notice of intent, application for Grafton Stormwater Bylaw Permit, and application for Grafton Wetlands Bylaw Permit for the construction of a cell tower and driveway at 58 Follette Street, Grafton, Mass. The application materials, meeting link, and access information will be posted to the Town of Grafton website. All right, Jess, are you here for that one?
I am. Good evening, Jess Barty, Robinson and Cole on behalf of the applicant, Cellco Partnership, Verizon Wireless. By my calculation, we do not have a quorum of eligible members here tonight for our public hearing. Because by my calculation, it was Chairwoman Brock, Commissioner Nicholson, and Commissioner Hugel who were able to act on our notice of intent. Commissioner Mast joined the commission after our first public hearing. So we need to request a continuance.
So if I can just hop in for a second. So if Travis abstains, you could still have a vote. I mean, it's up to you if you wanna take the chance, but the vote would still count as long as a majority of those present vote in the affirmative, it would still count. So as long as you got a yes from Jonathan and a yes from Patrick, it would count. Or we can continue. It's entirely your choice.
I thought it was it would have to be all 3 members though, because it's a 4-member commission, no?
Well, when it's a full commission, we have 5, so a quorum is 3 to hold a meeting, but if someone recuses themselves or abstains, then you need a majority of those present. So a majority of the quorum that's present, 2 out
Is
of
this
3.
the rule of necessity, Leah?
I don't know if that's what it's
Well,
called.
but Commissioner Mast wasn't on the commission when we
Right.
started though, right?
Correct.
Right, so he will have to abstain from this one, but you would have a potential majority of those present in Jonathan and Patrick. Or you can wait. I'm not advising, I'm just laying out your options.
I think we would like to seek a continuance to the next meeting,
Okay.
to be safe, please.
So the applicant has, the applicant's agent, the applicant has requested a continuance. Do I have a motion for a continuance on 58 Follette Street?
A motion to continue Follette Street to our next meeting.
And Leah, just as a matter of can Travis vote on the continuance?
Yeah,
Okay, so. do I have
I'll
a
second it.
I just want to specify that that's March 21.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to continue 58 Follette Street to March 21st meeting. Roll call vote. Travis,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
I'm also a yes. The NOI has been continued to the March 21st meeting.
Thank you very much. Bye.
All right. Moving down the list. 8 Morgan Drive. We got a few minutes here.
7:45 for that one.
Okay,
I can tell you guys about 114 Miriam Road real quick.
sure.
They're under action items, so they're looking for a certificate of compliance. We're gonna revisit this one on March 21. They have a handful of outstanding items, so we don't need to get too far into detail on that one.
Do I need to open it up or is it just,
Nope, it's an action item.
got it, okay.
And then if you guys want to dig into Highfields, while we wait for 7:45, those are the last things that I have left.
Sure, if you think we can get moving through it and we got a few minutes here, 7 minutes.
Yeah, well, I see Mr. Knappich on the attendees list. He is here to speak to the conservation restriction. We could probably talk through that one.
So,
He's
yeah, could we promote Mr. Knappich, and then we could talk through that prior to because the other one appears to be a continuance rate, Morgan, anyway. So even if we don't hit it at exactly 7:45, we're
Right.
good. So,
Yep, he should be hopping on now.
all right, Rob, can you hear us? You're muted.
Good evening.
Good evening. We can hear you.
Yes, hi. My name is Rob Knappich, and I beg your pardon. I'm appearing as counsel to and on behalf of McGill Associates, and just very quickly for the commission's benefit, you may recall this has been on your agenda for some time, and it arises in connection with a request last fall, or beginning last summer, really, to accept the roadways that comprise the Highfield subdivision. And the reason it arises in that connection is because among the conditions of the orders of conditions and permits were that the developer would eventually grant a conservation restriction to the town for what is effectively the golf course and surrounding property. So it has sort of lain fallow for a while because for other reasons, the road acceptance did not appear on last fall's town meeting agenda. In any event, this was submitted as an initial draft. The commission and I think town council as well had some comments, and those were addressed. And then there were a few additional comments by the commission and by the applicant. And that's what's before you this evening. If you have a red line that's dated sometime in January, and you would have flipped through, you'd see there's about maybe 8 to 10 final revisions. I will summarize them briefly, and we could go through them one by one if you like. But to briefly summarize them, the revisions made by the applicant are intended by and large to ensure that the ability to sort of modify or reconstruct the golf course over time is explicit. And the reason for that is, as you may know, golf courses, even though this one was built years ago and it's, mature, there's no question that golf courses sometimes are revised because, for example, they determine that a hole should be a little longer or a tee box should be moved a few feet this way or that. So the revisions by Mr. McGill are intended to just ensure that, there's that express right to do just that, not to make any major changes. In fact, the very first page says that the premises will be maintained substantially in its current condition. Other changes allow for relocation, reconstruction of aspects of the golf course. So that's the main driver for those sorts of changes. There's one change that the commission, I think it was, requested, and that appears toward the end. And that was a request that folks using the conservation restriction land for, I suppose, other purposes other than a golf course, be allowed to park in the clubhouse parking lot. So there was inserted in section 4, caption access, an express right in anybody using the conservation area to park in the clubhouse. So that's a summary of the final revisions. And what I think the applicant requests, or the developer requests, that the commission give this final approval either this evening or sometime soon, and then it would be executed and put of record, and then that would be a condition of the permits that would be crossed off the list. Thank you.
All right. Leah, anything that you'd like to add about, I don't know if it's, if you have some specific questions that you need addressed by Mr. Knappich?
Yeah, and Jan, if you don't mind pulling this up, I don't have page numbers to reference for you, but hopefully it's not too hard to find. So I just had three things. One is that in reserved right number 2, there's language that talks about easements for construction of roads and utilities. And I was just wondering, what are these, or where are these, and for what purpose?
Okay, so I think you're referring to, there's a whole section, under, I think it's Article 2A, or 2B, reserved rights and exceptions. I think it's a little further on. Yes, so is that the section you're referring to?
Yeah.
Or did
can
you say it was number 2?
I think it's number 2. Can you, let's see. Yeah, that one. Flexible residential housing, the right to impose upon the premises temporary easements for the construction, maintenance, and repair of roads and utilities serving the adjacent and surrounding FRH development, and sewer or drainage facilities serving said development or adjacent land.
So the, of course, the golf course was approved in connection with a large housing development, subdivision of land, and it was approved as a so-called flexible residential housing project. The housing component of the project is not yet fully built out. It's nearly so, but it's not yet fully built out. So, and furthermore, the engineer, Andrews, now DePreet and Associates, has prepared a very detailed and extensive plan showing existing easements that cut across the golf course in various spots, therefore cut across the conservation area for utilities such as sewer. So the intent of this reserved right is to ensure that in the event that any additional easement or relocated easement were necessary, that the developer would have the right to do that without modifying the conservation restriction. But I will tell you, as a matter of fact, that but for very few easements relating to this unbuilt portion of it, by and large, the utilities that are going to cross the conservation area do, and they are within easements as shown on the plans by DePreet, which you may have. If you don't, I can certainly get them to you.
Yeah, could you send those? We don't have that currently.
Sure.
So does the language then for the easements need to be the word construction, or is it the kind of thing that could be changed to maintenance? Or I guess the word construction removed, because you already have maintenance in there.
I think that the idea is that, as I said, there's just a few spots where there's still some utilities to be installed. So if, installed was a more acceptable term, if construction just seems a little inconsistent with the idea of a CR, then I think the idea of easements for the installation, maintenance, repair of roads and utilities serving the FRH development would be fine.
Okay. And then would it be reasonable for us to request that maybe a sentence be added in here that in the future, when all of this is built out, if easements do need to change, that we be notified?
Sure, that would absolutely be reasonable. That seems like a concept that might be present in some general way. I can't put my finger on that, Leah, but if it's not there, I can sort of certainly add a provision that requires the applicant to notify, notify who, but the town effectively, of the need to relocate an easement.
Yep. You can say the commission.
Okay. Yeah, the easement does run in favor of the town in general acting by and through its commission, and there's a notice provision that does say that the conservation agent will be notified. Sure.
Okay. Before I move on to number 2 of 3, did any of the commissioners want to comment on any of that?
Travis, any comments on that adjustment for the removal of the word construction or changing that wording?
So Leah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm recusing myself on this one, correct? Since I'm in a butter.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so Travis has recused himself from conversation, and Patrick, any comments there?
Nope, sounds good, thank you.
All right, Leah, I don't have any comments. I think that's a reasonable request. It sounds like it's, something to be worked into the conversation there. So let's continue then.
Okay. So Jan, if you can scroll down to number 8 in the section that you're in. So this one talks about utilizing soil, etc. for golf course maintenance. So I think we talked about this at a meeting previously, but I don't think the change made it into here. Hold on, let me see. Okay, so the commission had proposed removing the word construction, and Mr. Knapik's proposing changing it to reconstruction. And we were just looking to keep the maintenance activities a bit in check. So I just wanted to see if the commission is okay with the change from construction to reconstruction.
Patrick, any comments or thoughts there?
No, I mean, I interpret reconstruction as rebuilding something that's already existing, but I'm not sure if that's a legal interpretation or not, but
That is the intent. I'm sorry to interrupt, but yeah, again, that is the intent, moving a tee box 10 feet or that sort of thing.
okay, yeah, I mean, I have that I understand the need for that kind of I guess it's not really maintenance, it's slightly different than maintenance, but the need for that activity, so I think it makes sense to me.
Agree. There's reconstruction to me and construction, working in commercial construction, they're kind of the same thing, or could be construed as the same thing. Would it be helpful to try to define what that is in a way, again, by giving an example? Or I don't know, Leah or Rob, if that's something that's a reasonable request you just gave an example of moving a tee box 10 feet, so is that something that we could put in there? So if you're actually reconfiguring the entire hole and changing the entire golf course, and you say, oh, it's just reconstruction, that's where I think Leah may be going, is trying to limit how much reconstruction is really being done. So could it be, instead of the word reconstruction, could it be minor alterations or something like that, minor adjustments? I'm not sure, Leah, if one of those words or phrases, if the word reconstruction or construction's in it, I feel like the magnitude could be construed or assumed to allow for more than maybe, like, I understand what you're trying to do, Mr. Knapik. The wording could be misconstrued, 5 years down the line here.
Sure. Or even 30. I understand. I don't see why minor adjustment or minor relocation or would be objectionable. As you were talking, I was thinking that, perhaps a sort of a proviso could be added, something to the effect of, provided such reconstruction entails a minor adjustment or minor relocation of any feature or aspect of the golf course or something like that. Does that sound what you're getting at?
Yeah.
In terms of limiting language?
Yep, that would do it for what I'm getting at, yes.
Okay.
I think there was one more bullet point, Leah.
Yep. The last one I had was a little bit more in general. So just regarding the proposed changes to the language so that golf course maintenance can happen. Is there a way we can just distinguish that this flexibility for golf course maintenance is, let's see, is kind of like remains within the area already developed as a golf course? And the reason I say that is so that we're not like seeing additional previously undeveloped woods turned into like, here's a new golf course hole. So just to kind of call out, like, yes, golf course maintenance, but like within the existing golf course area, or however it's best to say that.
Right. Yeah, I know of no, there is no, plan to carve new holes or substantially relocate. So I don't see why that sort of limiting language would be objectionable either. I guess where to insert it is something I'll take a look at, but I get the idea, within, well, I don't necessarily want to say within the layout, because the layout, I suppose, is, wherever the limit of fairway is today. And again, if, a fairway is proposed to be, enlarged by 10 feet here or cut back there, that I would think falls within the idea of minor reconstruction. Maybe clearing, within presently cleared areas.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
That you're
something
getting
like
at,
that.
okay.
Yeah, that would work.
Okay.
Although I can hear, I can hear my client saying, well, wait a minute, what if I want to remove that tree that it turns out has grown and it's now an obstruction to that tee shot? So, substantially within cleared areas, or something a little like, something that wouldn't preclude removing branches or a tree. I don't think that's what you were getting at. So,
Right.
okay, I get the idea.
Okay.
Patrick, any comments on that adjustment?
No, that makes sense.
Okay, I agree. I think it makes sense as well. So,
Okay, would you guys like to see this back before you one more time with these final tweaks, or do you feel comfortable with me working out the final details with Mr. Knappich in the background?
Patrick, thoughts?
The main difference is if you wanted to take a vote tonight, you'd be voting to accept the CR pending those final changes, and then you'd put the final changes in my hands. The other way to do it is just to have it on an agenda again and accept it when it's fully done.
I mean, frankly, I'm in favor of what you just said of allowing you to accept, to vote to pass it or to accept it potentially, and then allow you to do the paperwork cleanup on the back end, Leah, just so we don't have to bring Mr. Knappich back here for that. If that's the intent of what you just said, that's what it sounds.
Yep. Okay.
I'm good with that. Patrick, are you good with that?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. So I need so basically, Leah, you'll have to help me with this one a little bit. I need a motion to approve.
I think I would say accept, because we're going to be the holders of it. So we would be accepting the conservation restriction for Highfield subdivision pending the revisions discussed tonight.
Okay. So if someone wanted to make a motion, they could say so motioned to that statement.
Yep.
Let's go with that. So motioned.
Okay, so I have a motion. Because Travis has recused himself, I'll second that.
Yeah.
And then I'll do a roll call. So I've got a motion and a second. Patrick,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes, so it passes. So pending the adjustments as discussed.
All right.
Thank you. On behalf of McGill Associates, thanks very much. I will get those comments to you by the end of the week or early next.
Sounds good. I just have one question for you before you hop off. Do you know if Byron intended to be here this evening?
I don't, but I suspect if he did, that he would be here. So I think you can move on from that if he hasn't appeared yet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good night, folks.
Thank you, Rob. All right, so Leah, makes sense for me to read in and we can read in 8 Morgan Drive.
Yes, please.
All right, so pursuant to the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, Grafton Stormwater Management Bylaw, and the Grafton Wetlands Protection Bylaw, the Grafton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, March 7, 2023 at 7:45 PM via Zoom to act upon a notice of intent, application for Grafton Stormwater Bylaw permit, and application for Grafton Wetlands Bylaw permit for the construction of a driveway and stormwater basins at 8 Morgan Drive, Grafton, Massachusetts. The application material, meeting link, and access information will be posted to the town website. It looks like these folks have requested a continuance to the 3/21 meeting. So do I have a motion?
Motion to continue to 3/21 for 8 Morgan Drive.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Do a roll call vote. Patrick,
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
I'm also a yes. The motion passes.
Okay, the
Okay.
last thing I had for you guys was that partial COC request for Highfields that has been trailing along for some time. I can give you the quick summary and you guys can decide if you want to act on it or not. Byron Andrews is not in attendance. We expected him to be. So you want me to just give you the little rundown?
So do we need him here to move forward or whatever the next steps might be?
I mean, it's not a hearing, it's an action item, so
Understood.
it's kind of up to you guys how you want to proceed.
If you're good proceeding, Leah, if it passes the smell test and we can move forward without any issue, then I'm good proceeding.
Well, let me tell you where we stand, and then you guys can make the final decision whether to act or not. So, just as a reminder, this was a partial certificate of compliance request for what they're calling phase 1 of Highfields. So we had 2 items that were outstanding. One was that the roof runoff from the houses was to be recharged on each lot. Only one house had the recharge system installed, so we asked, where do the rest of the downspouts point on the remaining houses? They went out and checked and came back and said basically half point to the driveways, which leads, to the road and the storm drains, and the other half point to the lawns. So we do achieve some infiltration there. The other item we had outstanding was details on their wetland replication areas. About an hour or 2 ahead of our last meeting, their report came in from their wetland scientist about the 6 proposed replication areas. In short, a couple of them were constructed, but they don't appear to connect to existing wetlands. And then the vast majority of them don't appear to have ever even been constructed. One of those being almost 8,000 square feet. So then we talked about what our options, or finding out what our options would be going forward. If there was a way we could proceed and issue them some sort of partial so that they could continue with their road acceptance with the planning board, or if this is gonna stop them in their tracks. So I talked to the town planner. She believes that a partial COC leaving this replication work still to be completed on the table would not clear them to continue through the planning board process because she believes they would need to fully finish with us first. That's one of the conditions that the planning board looks for as part of the road acceptance procedures. So the general way we left things last time with the applicant was that they would need to come up with a plan for replication so that they meet their square footage that, that was on their permit. Because we can't accept a net loss to wetland resource areas. And doing a little bit more digging even beyond that, I believe that when they come up with that replication plan to address this issue, they're going to need to file it under a new NOI because this 164-591 expired quite a while ago. So that basically leaves us with this partial COC request that it would be my recommendation that we would deny because, like I said, we can't accept a net loss to wetland resource areas. And they'd have to go back and do some work to try to bring it into compliance and come back and request it again. The main thing that does is they're charged a fee to come back to request a COC again that they already requested versus the first try, it's free. We've been looking at this one for over 6 months now, working through the process with them. So I'll leave it to you guys whether you want to actually take that vote and deny it tonight. We can talk to the applicant again. Like I said, we thought he would be here, so it's up to you.
So just as a matter of meeting maintenance, Travis, because this is at Highfields, is this still something that you have to recuse from? Or are you far enough away from this, or I just don't know. if
No,
you
I
have
think
to
I have to recuse myself on this one as
abstain
well.
or whatever.
Yeah, since it's
Yep.
the whole golf course.
Okay, all right, so Patrick, so we'll move over to you, Patrick. Any comments, any thoughts on the COC? What do you think here? Or any feedback, I guess, or any comments?
No, I mean, I think that at this point, I'm okay voting to deny it. Unless we want to wait for Sandy to be back to do that. But I don't see any reason to keep this
Yeah.
one on life support.
Okay. So yeah, my take is that this isn't just one small thing. This appears to be a lot of big things. The roof runoff, half of it's getting into the storm sewer as opposed to being on the lawn. I mean, they've got over 10,000, 12,000 square feet of wetland replication that they haven't done, is what it looks like, Leah. So this isn't, they missed a dot or a cross of a T or something. It looks like this is a little more extreme than that. So
Yeah, and we did have a bit of a discussion with the applicant after the last meeting that they thought they remembered some discussion happening about these wetland replication spots, like probably 10 years ago at a Concom meeting, but we haven't nailed down what meeting date that would be or what set of minutes to dig out to try to help them figure that out. But like I said, this just sends, if we were to deny it, it just sends them back to the drawing board, so to speak, to figure out how to address this and then come request it again. So I think
you're-
that's fair.
Sure. You're saying that they're saying 10 years ago they had a conversation that didn't apparently get documented that changed this, but this is what's in or this is what's in the request or whatever. This is
All they emailed to us was that they were saying that they kind of recalled a discussion before the commission about 10 years ago about the replication areas. Could we help them find meeting minutes for it? And then we asked, do you have any idea of a date so we have a clue where to look? And then they said that they would go back to their client and see if you had an idea of a date, and it kind of dropped off after there. I would venture a guess to say that even 10 years ago, I don't think a commission would have said, okay, you don't have to build a 7,680 square foot replication area. So I don't know that that's going to pull up a Hail Mary. It might just pull up something about maybe these first ones where we're not sure if it connects to adjacent wetlands or not. That's just venturing a complete guess. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, I see. So some of these have been. Well, it says, so behind 14 McGill, for example, it says proposed at 3124 square feet. So it is completed. It's just not unsure if connected to it. So you've got a couple that haven't been constructed, and then you've got a couple that have been constructed but may not have met the intent of the construction or the reason.
Correct.
So, frankly, just to make a long story short, I'm good with denying the partial COC, or making a motion to do that, and voting on it tonight, simply because of everything we've got in our paperwork here. So,
Okay.
Patrick, any other thoughts, or do you want to make a motion?
No other thoughts. I move to deny the request for partial COC for the DEP 164-591.
All right, I second it. So I've got a motion and a second with Travis abstaining from voting, recusing himself. So Patrick, how do you vote?
Yes.
I am also a yes. The COC, the partial COC is denied.
I think that's all I got.
All right. And I just need one more motion.
Good job, Jonathan. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Travis, how do you vote?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
I'm also yes. The meeting is adjourned.